I don't often talk about myself at any of these events because the stories amongst the Ouimet Fund donors and alums and current scholars are so great. I'm just in awe of what we hear. Anthony Adalizzi, Nate Ingram, who we've heard from at banquets past. But I got started as a caddy at Ouimet Country Club when I was 13 years old. And I remember sitting on the rock at Ouimet every year, every weekend day, hoping that I was going to get out. We didn't have a mandatory caddy policy. You didn't have to take anybody, but you were hoping that one of the 5 or 6 golfers you knew that chose to pay a caddy that day would show up. And I can remember them by name, but you'd hope to get $15 a bag, $20 would be a great day, and you only carried singles. We don't have caddies at Ouimet anymore, and that's a shame, but we do have a lot of young men and women who work in the bag room and are on the grounds crew. I was very fortunate to be the Ouimet Fund's intern through college, and I got to help start the caddy program at Duxbury Yacht Club. Worked with John Arnold and Fran Doran there, and that was an absolute pleasure. And we had a bunch of young kids who carried singles there. Nobody could really carry doubles, but to start it from the ground up was very humbling. And then was extremely fortunate to join a place called Kittansett, where I got to meet Michael Moore, 15 years ago or so, and didn't have any money to afford a caddy when I started there. I was a junior member and knew all the rules of when I could carry my own bag and when I couldn't, but used them to my advantage because, again, I was just worried about paying my own dues and for whatever food I had down there. But got to hang out with the caddies a lot because I was too young to play with the young member, too young to play with the old members, too old to play with the young members. I was sort of in between. So I really got to know the caddies and sort of grew up in the caddy yard there, even though I wasn't caddying on a regular basis. And we had a lot of really, really fine young men and women who came through the program there. Fast forward to, got a decent job and started making sure I paid it forward and took caddies every time I could. And it was the honor of my life, and it still is, to be able to take a caddy and I really always like to take the college kids and hear their stories, understand where they came from, and see how I can help out. And we've got 3 men up here who are helping to perpetuate that legacy that, we go back and tell the great caddy stories of Eddie Lowry and Francis Ouimet. And I'm pleased to have them with us tonight to talk a little bit about their caddy programs, what it means to be a caddy master, their stories in golf, things that they've learned along the way, and some of the success stories that have come out of their programs and some of the skills that they hope that the caddies that go through their programs will learn. So I'll start to my immediate left, and Ken Charpentier.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I've been in the golf industry for 20 years. I was at TPC Boston for 2 years, and I've been at Sacconesset as the caddy manager, and up until this year, outside ops supervisor for 18 years. At the age of 13, my parents were pretty poor. My dad heard that a 13-year-old could actually make some money as a caddy. So, of course, nobody in my family played golf because that was for rich people. So he dropped me off at the country club in New Bedford, and I sat on a wall, similar to what you're talking about, for 2 consecutive weekends, never being called up, never. Caddy manager was Tony Vieira. Turned out to be a really big influence in my life, but after 2 weekends, he came up and he said, "Who are you?" And I told him my name, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "My dad dropped me off. He said, I could probably be a caddy here." He said, "You show up every week." And he made it a point to put me out. And they mentored caddies in that day. You didn't really get trained. You just followed a senior caddy, and the senior caddy would tell you how to hold a bag. But I remember about 2 months into this process, he came up and he said, "Ken, how come you don't play on Mondays with the other caddies?" And I said, I don't have golf clubs. We can't afford golf clubs." And a week later, he called me into his office, and a member had turned in some Hague Ultras, was updating, and some McGregor Woods with a bag. And he said, "This is your first set of clubs." And he said, "I want to see you on Monday so you can be a better caddy." And I never forgot that. Ultimately, I caddied there through high school. I went on to be a store manager and a district manager for Almax. And then I spent almost 10 years with Shaw's running superstores. And shortly after about 50-something years old, I said, I want to get out of the business. I want to go back to, a simpler life, something with golf. So I was lucky enough to get affiliated with TPC Boston. And after 2 years there, the pro that had left made an offer to come down to Sacconesset. At the time, it was TGC. We went through about 9 different names. And when I got there, he said, I want to build a caddy program. Of course, we had like 50 members at the time. And we had like 6 or 7 caddies in the program. But through the process, the membership grew. And, the one thing that I always recall is we have a very successful program now. So we have 53 caddies. One of my caddy managers is with me, Kevin Neidigger. He's here. We have another one back at the club. It takes a village. The support that we get, that I get from the directors, because we're member-owned now, from the scholarship funds, from the Reardon family that are the best, it makes my life so rewarding. There's not a day that goes by in my life that I don't think I'm the luckiest guy in the world. One of the great things about being a caddy manager is the fact that you're in an environment, in a world where you get to see the future. Everybody can complain about how things are not good. They are good. You look around this room, you look around at the Ouimet dinner that I went to in April, you look at our caddy programs, and that's the future. And it truly is. And
Ken, I'd like to bring Andrew into the conversation. Andrew Sbordone.
Kenny, mine's going to be a lot shorter.
Andrew has never let a loss for words, brought his own with him.
First, I'd like to thank the Ouimet for having me here tonight. I've been associated with the Ouimet for 27 years.
At least.
Marathons, and what'd you say? And I really enjoyed every minute of it, being a caddy master. The best part of my job is the daily interaction with the caddies. You get to know them, and hopefully they're with you 5, 6, 7 years until they go off to college and they're on their own. But probably teaching the young ones some kind of work ethic, dedication, hard work, and then you just see them grow to young people, and like you see all these scholars here tonight. Some of my caddies have turned out to be doctors, lawyers. And it's just, you feel older as you see them grow up. I just want to let you know, if it wasn't for the Ouimet Fund, a lot of the dreams from these kids wouldn't be possible. And I'm sure everyone here would make sure that they thank the Ouimet Fund. And I want to personally thank the Ouimet Fund for everything they've done for all my kids. And as Kenny and Mike would say, is tonight's event is investing in lifetimes. And as a caddy master, it's kind of what we do. And that's our main gift to the Ouimet Fund.
It's fantastic.
great. Well said.
Michael Moore, PGA from the Kittansett Club.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for all being here and for having me here. My name is Michael Moore. I've been a PGA member for 29 years as a Class A, 34 in the golf business. I've been head professional for 12 years, and I think I have the greatest job in the world. It's if you've ever been down Point Road, you know the view is pretty good. So it's a tough drive. Each time, not only one day, I can honestly say this, only one day in my whole time that I've been there that I've regretted having to go to work. And had nothing to do with the club or the caddies or the program or anything, but it's the greatest thing. I'm very fortunate that I have been exposed to so many young men and ladies that have come through this program. I've probably had 500 caddies go through my door. Right now I have 108 on a daily text. I use 100 a week. Anyway, on outings I use 50 to 60 on a daily basis. It's great. I have them from 14 years old. They have to be 14 years old and they're going to be a freshman in high school, up up to 77 years old. I have a gentleman that caddied for Tommy Armour III in the 86 Masters. So
That's impressive.
The span is pretty wide. He no longer carries 2 bags, thank God for us, and the people he carries for, because it takes a while for him to get around. But we're glad to have him. We have pharmacists and doctors, and I actually had one young lady who went to Mass Maritime. She was the daughter of Steve Demmer, who was one of our older golf pros, who is now works for the U.S. Navy as a bomb squad. You know, so it's, she wanted to be a pilot. I told her it was much better. She could eject if she made a mistake. This isn't necessarily the case with the bomb. So we have her, we have nurse practitioners, investment people. We have so many caddies that have ended up working for members that started out just as taking them as caddies. We have caddies that have become members. We have one caddy that couldn't afford to go to medical school, that a family put him up in their house because he couldn't afford to live anywhere, and they took care of him, and now he is just about to graduate his program, which is absolutely phenomenal. The Ouimet Fund has helped more people than you know. My son was a scholar and is now an alum, and it helped his mother and I tremendously, so he could go to Endicott College. There are people that couldn't go to school if it wasn't for this program. I think the greatest part about the program for the young people is that they get to make friends with other people. They get to have relationships with the members. They get to be involved with them. They become best friends that they never knew before. They ended up going to school together. We've had some that ended up dating, and have gone even further than that. We don't like that in the yard, but it still happens. I'm very fortunate. I thank you all, and it is a dream job for me, and I hope I continue to am able to do it for a long time. Thank you.
Wow, that 10-minute period took about half the questions that I had off the books, but I do want to get into a little bit of the changing landscape of caddy programs. Now, we can talk about the kids who make up the caddy programs a little bit later in greater depth, but I think, Colin will back me up here, we've gotten more requests from clubs for caddy training materials this year and last year than I think we had in the previous 20 years. So I'll start with Michael, we'll go in reverse order this time. What have you seen as sort of the changing landscape of caddy programs? Why do you think it's become more popular to have a caddy program? And what do you see sort of as the changing attitude of golfers around having caddies?
Well, I think the physical fitness phase, everybody wants to walk now, all right, which is great. It's a great opportunity for them. It's great for children that don't want to work for $15 an hour behind a counter trying to flip burgers or anything, when they can be outside meeting new people, getting fresh air, getting to know members, and make more than $15 an hour. All right, and it's pretty good. And most of them it's tax-free, but we don't tell anybody that.
No CPAs in here, right?
I think it's an opportunity for them to do something out of the ordinary. It's not your regular, my parents told me to get a job kind of thing, so I'm going to go work this summer at Walmart or anything. You come to the club, you get to meet people. The only requirement that you have to have, and this is probably jumping another question, is you have to be a good person. Plain and simple. I can teach you to be a good caddy, I can teach you to be a great caddy, but if you're not a good person, you're not going to do well in the business. It's a relationship thing. So if you want to show up and you have a smile on your face, you can be 4 feet 9 inches tall and be a bag dragger, I'll get you out. All right? But you have to be nice and be pleasant, be willing to do it. And at the end of the round, say thank you, take your hat off, shake their hand, and thank you, I had a nice day. I hope you'll take me again. That kind of opportunity for kids, and it's just word of mouth. I haven't advertised in probably 25 years for a caddy. It's just word of mouth. And I can't keep enough of the kids that try to get jobs. I just don't. I used to have 65 young men in the back of the caddy yard at 6 o'clock in the morning waiting to get out. I was the first one to sign up on the list. thank God for COVID, now we have tea times and it works out a lot better. But that's, I think it just gives them an opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise, and the members get to share something with them.
Andrew, you work at a city club, so these guys are down the Cape a little bit more than you, and so what's it like at Charles River?
So at Charles River, when I first started there 12 years ago, the caddy program was fine, it was strong, and then COVID came. And it actually took a little hit, the caddy program. We didn't train caddies. Members got used to carrying their own bag. But since then, this year, I think we've trained 57 new caddies. It's the highest we've ever done, almost double. So I see a strong interest coming back in the caddies. And usually they hear, it's usually the mother that calls me and says, hey, I know this kid caddies, I want my son to caddy. And you know, you can tell right away which kids really want to caddy and which kids are doing it for their parents. But I think caddying has come back in a big way.
But how about amongst the members there too? Why, you had a small amount before COVID, you've built it up to have a really healthy number there.
Hopefully, because, you know, Francis Ouimet was a member at Charles River, and Eddie Lowry was one of our club champions. So we've always been known that, hey, we're a caddy sponsoring club, but COVID, people got used to carrying their bags, so now we're just trying to fight it back to where everyone's going to be taking a caddy. We do have caddy rules. Like on weekend mornings, if you want to walk, you have to take a caddy, which protects the caddy program. But on a normal weekend, we're probably doing 30 to 40 caddies that get out.
Ken, how about you?
What I've seen at Sacconesset is that we've grown as a membership, and I think golf in general is exploding. In our membership, a lot of people that join the club are brought into a caddy program. A lot of people don't understand. And then once we start putting caddies with people, I'm allowed to put caddies for every tournament. Member guest, member, ladies, a member we have coming up. Outside events we put caddies with. And people start realizing what a wonderful experience it is. It actually enhances the program. We have standard rules, as Anthony said, with you can't carry a bag, and if you bring guests, you have to take a 4-caddy. And I think that's what's grown our program, plus the fact that in the beginning I couldn't get local kids. That was my biggest, because Falmouth is almost like a vacation destination, and it was hard. And what I started to do was get a few local kids. James is here, he's a Reardon and Ouimet winner. He came to me work outside ops, and I said, why don't you want to be a caddy? And he's like, I don't really know about it. And we trained him, and he enjoyed it so much, and he did so well, he started telling other local kids. And now it's crazy. The only thing I listen to an interview, I don't do Zoom, I used to do them all in person, is I listen for passion. And I tell them in the first session, they're all sitting in front of me, our first training, and I'm like, I can teach you everything. I can't teach you to be passionate. We'll teach you to be dependable and accountable, and that's all your accountability, but you have to want to go out there and do this. And that's kind of how I pick them. And whether it's girls or boys, it's so awesome to see, because they don't have to know anything about golf. Our members, once they're trained, the first thing they'll say is, Ken, what a great kid. They got a long way to go, but they're a great kid. So that's kind of, it's our fruition.
Some of the caddies that have gone through your programs, I assume you still have pretty good relationships with.
Forever.
What are some of the relationships that stand out to you, and why are they special?
So for me, it's kind of different. What I do is, if caddies, when they get to be seniors in high schools, if they've been in the caddy program for a while, a lot of them have worked outside ops as well. So if you're a real good caddy, we migrate you into the outside operations world. And it's beneficial to the club, it's beneficial to the caddy. So it grows a relationship. So I live on a lake. So every summer I pick 10 to 12 kids that have been with us for a while, and either teach them how to water ski or take them fishing. We have pizzas and stuff, so they never forget. I have kids now still. Last summer, a kid who graduated from our program probably 4 years ago, and he said, Ken, I realize this is the first time I haven't spent any time with you. Could I stop by and say hi to you and Karen and hang out on a Sunday afternoon? They become like family. My kids, I have 2 boys, and Nikki, our daughter, who's in med school, and she was a caddy. it's not uncommon for them to come over and visit and see a place full of kids. And I love hearing the stories. I mean, we have, the Ritchie brothers who won the Reardon and the one we met, they're in contact with me like every 2 weeks telling me they bought a house, and they become family. And I think that's the most important thing, that there is a sincere love back and forth. I learned one thing very early in my management career, and I said this to Kevin recently. People work for an individual. You don't work for a paycheck. You don't work for a corporation. You work for a person. And if they love that person, if you have a relationship with that person, you're going to have huge success with them. So,
Andrew, I know you're a pretty hands-on manager at the River. What are some of the skills? I mean, Michael alluded to some, Ken alluded to some. What are some of the skills you hope that the caddies who have been under your tutelage have learned through their time there?
Well, I would say, beside the caddying training, is dependability, meaning showing up on time, and, hard work, determination. I mean, as you know, like you said, how you sat on the rock. Some kids come and they sit there and all of a sudden they just give up. But you as a caddy master, you see the kids that are persistent, and all of a sudden they go out and a member says, hey, geez, you did a really good job, and that really changes the whole dynamic. Now you can, as a caddy master, you could trust them to go out with anybody. Basically that.
Michael, when you got to Kittansett, the program was, I wouldn't say it was waning, but the interest in being a part of the program from the youth in the area wasn't as high. But you've gotten it to a point where, first of all, you've got a tremendous amount of Ouimet scholars that come from the club. But they also want to become members at the club, and there's a really advantageous junior membership program there. When I was 21 years old and at Providence College, it was $270 for the year. No food minimum, no initiation fees, and no tea time restrictions. So I played a lot. That said, what were some of the things you really had to do to roll up your sleeves and get the caddy program to where it is today? That it takes a long time to get it to where it is. But when you identified the areas of opportunity to get it to be the beacon it is now, what were some of the things you thought of, and what can some of the people here think about when they're taking some of these lessons back to their clubs?
It took about 5 good years to really clean up the program. So we had people looking to come to say, hey, I want to be a caddy. My caddy says, do you have a car? Do you have transportation? Are you responsible? Do you take a bath every day? Look at me, take your hat off and you say hello, say yes instead of uh-huh, that kind of thing. I wanted them to be able to treat the members this way. Not necessarily me, but when you take your hat off and your sunglasses off and shake their hand and introduce yourself, say, I'm happy to be here today. The uniforms had to match. Everybody had to have the exact same thing. You didn't work. There was no exception. I don't know, matter who you were. You say, well, mine was dirty, so buy a second one. They didn't work that day. So pretty soon everybody started to fall into the program, and everybody supported it because now it became a really tight group of unity and a uniform procession. Members started to ask for more. We got more comments. And that's it. I mean, it's. I feel great about it. It's probably one of the better things that I've ever done in my life. So like I said before, if you're polite and you're a good person, you can do anything. So we just gave them a head start.
We've got quite a few scholars who are here tonight. If you have one message for them to think about through college and into their early years of employment and through life, what would you say to them? Andrew, you want to start?
Just think about everything that you went through from when you're 14 years old and until now you're in college. I mean, hopefully during that time you've learned some valuable lessons about life. I mean, everybody's watched Caddyshack. You learn a lot of things in the Caddyshack. And hopefully you learn some things. And just remember that, like you said, now you're a member of the club, that you take a caddy and, you see a 14-year-old kid and you take him under your wing, you know what I mean? Ask for him. I mean, it's just, there's nothing better of a feeling than that.
Ken?
I tell my scholarship winners, it's your time now to pay forward.
Yeah.
Always. It's a huge thing. We've done it for them, and now it's their turn to do it for someone, whether it's mentoring a young kid, taking them out, teaching them golf, whatever it is, showing them how to act. You know, it's a big deal. I mean, when the Patriots were successful, they talked about the Patriot way, and it worked from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top. And I say the same thing about Sacconesset. This is not who we are. Show them who we are.
Yeah.
And it becomes a culture. It really does become a culture.
Michael?
Nobody here knew anything about their program when they started. Nobody was a good caddy, nobody was a good golfer, nobody was good at anything until somebody else showed you how to do it. All right? Gave you a hint, gave you a helping hand. So that's your job. Next time somebody falls or can't do it, doesn't do it right, don't make fun of them, help them up. They're going to remember that for the rest of their life, and they're going to do the same thing, and it's going to make you better also.